welcome everyone. This is the public meeting of the Commission on Judicial Appointments. It has been noticed for this time and place for the purpose of considering the appointment by Governor Gavin Newsom of Mr. Martin N. Buchanan to the Office of Associate Justice at the 4th District Court of Appeal, Division 1. As the Chief Justice of California, I serve as chair of the Commission on Judicial Appointments, and our other members from the Commission are Attorney General Rob Bonta and Presiding Justice Manuel A. Ramirez.
Good morning, Chief.
Good morning. And we have Janelle Baker and Amoy Kim, who serve as Secretary and support to the Commission. The Commission is in receipt of a letter from Governor Newsom appointing Mr. Buchanan to fill a vacancy created by the retirement of Associate Justice Patricia D. Benke. The state constitution specifies that an appointment by the governor to the Court of Appeal is effective when confirmed by the Commission on Judicial Appointments. The Commission received correspondence pertaining to this appointment, and we made these letters available to the press and to the public several days ago. Pursuant to a request by Governor Newsom, the Commission on Judicial Nominees Evaluation of the State Bar, also known as JENNY, has undertaken an evaluation of the qualifications of Mr. Buchanan. And Mr. Adam Hoffman is here. He's chair of that commission and is present today to publicly announce the results of that evaluation, and he will do so later in these proceedings. Mr. Buchanan has asked that the following persons be called to testify on his behalf. So I'll list you now, but invite you separately to the podium. First, we have Ms. Linda A. Romero, appellate attorney, Victoria Fuller, partner at Nidri Adams Fuller Singh LLP, and the Honorable Judith McConnell, Administrative Presiding Justice, Court of Appeal, 4th Appellate District, Division 1. I invite Ms. Romero to the podium.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Welcome.
Madam Chief Justice Cantil Saka-Uwe, Attorney General Bonta, Presiding Justice Ramirez. It is an honor to speak on behalf of Martin Nebrida Buchanan in support of his appointment to the Court of Appeal, 4th District, Division 1. It is also an honor to be able to speak on Martin's behalf in the presence of those he loves the most, his wonderful wife, Miriam, his daughter, Kamala, son, Jonah, their loved ones, Emmy and Claire, Martin's brothers, Phil and Paul, sister-in-law, Shelley, and his mother, Harriet. Martin was born in Canada but grew up in Oregon. His father, Rupert, was a professor, and his mother, a school teacher. His parents inspired his commitment to justice, equality, fairness, and service to others, which he has embraced throughout his career and will take with him to the Court of Appeal. I have known Martin for over 30 years and have worked closely with him on a number of criminal appeals, and in one very complex case, had the honor of and privilege of sitting a chair away from him in an evidentiary hearing for 2 months. A few comments of many I heard from other attorneys present at that hearing, from other criminal appellate practitioners, and former members of your office, Attorney General Bonta, are: his brilliance as an appellate advocate was obvious to those of us in the criminal defense community. It's hard to imagine a person with a more qualified background than Martin's to serve on the Court of Appeal. He will bring a wealth of experience and his brilliant mind to the court. It was a pleasure to have Martin as opposing counsel due to his high ethical standards, deep knowledge of the prevailing law, and reasonableness in an extremely difficult case. As you will undoubtedly hear from all of the witnesses today, Martin is a brilliant legal analyst and writer. He is humble, empathetic, collegial, ethical, even-handed, and committed to justice, all of which will serve him well on the Court of Appeal. He is a phenomenal listener, extremely thoughtful, and unfailingly respectful, which will allow him to address and resolve any issue in any case that comes before him. He will bring a broad background, as he has served as a lawyer in both criminal and civil cases, sat as a pro tem judge, and served in the chambers of the very court he is nominated to join. Martin's commitment to justice, equality, fairness, and service to others was not just personified in his professional endeavors, but was also manifested in his private life. Martin dedicated countless hours to our local communities and to our profession in the numerous activities that he participated in. Professional organizations, in every professional organization and community organization, he was a leader at all times. I will mention only two. Martin was a 10-year volunteer board member and president of Say San Diego. It's a nonprofit organization with the mission of empowering youth, adults, families, and communities. The president and the CEO said to me, Martin went above and beyond and had a firm commitment to helping his neighbors. He was able to truly see people with great vulnerabilities, yet sought their greater potential. He stayed on the board longer than his term because he was needed, and he rallied the board through a precarious situation. He exhibited patience and compassion. He made sure every voice was heard, and he brokered a consensus. He has a brilliant intellect, a buoyant spirit, and acted carefully to make sure the result was correct. I could be not happier for our community and state for his appointment to the Court of Appeal. Martin also served on the Defenders Board, which oversees the defenders organizations at the appellate and federal level in San Diego. The current president said, "It's difficult to know where to begin in providing information about Martin Buchanan because there are so many superlatives to describe working with him. Martin is so well organized and thorough, as well as congenial and genuine, that he was always able to guide the board to rational decisions and have everyone pleased with the decisions reached. He is always upbeat and positive, which makes him a joy to work with. We will miss his guidance and his leadership, but we know that the appellate bench will be gaining an outstanding team member, not only for his legal skills, but also because he is simply a joy to work with." Others of the members of the board said, "I was able to observe Martin's hard work, great insight, and ability to engage with the various personalities on the board. All of these traits he will bring to the Court of Appeal. Martin has a warm and caring personality, and he also has a wonderful sense of humor, all of which will benefit the court and those having business with the court." Although Martin's practice consisted primarily of civil appeals, he never lost sight of the mission of the defenders' organizations to provide effective representation to indigent defendants and appellants. He did this with integrity, intelligence, leadership, humor, and a strong dedication to these organizations. Speaking on my own, I cannot count the number of times that I and others have called on Martin to share his vast knowledge of appellate law and procedure by guest lecturing at seminars at our local law schools all across the state, and to mentor law students and young attorneys. In addition, he was always available for any attorney who called him for advice and help, including me. Paul Bell, the former Assistant Director of Appellate Defenders and namesake of the Paul Bell Award for Excellence in Appellate Advocacy, which of course Martin has received, once told me that the work we do is God's work. I think when Paul said that decades ago, he meant that we seek justice for our clients. I believe all of us seek justice, whether as criminal defense attorneys, civil attorneys, or those of you sitting in your positions as judicial officers and running the Department of Justice. All of Martin's work has been the pursuit of justice, AKA God's work. And now with your confirmation, it will be more than a vocation. Justice will be part of Martin's title forever and will be his legacy. Martin is a treasure to anyone who knows him, and he will be a treasure to the Court of Appeal, the 4th District, and the entire state. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of Martin Nebrida Buchanan, and I ask you to confirm the appointment of Martin to the Court of Appeal, 4th District, Division 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Romero. We invite to the podium Ms. Victoria Fuller.
Members of the Commission, good morning. I'm Victoria Fuller, and I practice law in a relatively small, tight-knit community of civil appellate lawyers in San Diego. I first met Martin many years ago when I was invited as a much younger lawyer to join what was then a very small lunch group of other civil appellate lawyers. We hit it off right away, and we became fast friends. And based on our many years of friendship and working alongside one another as colleagues in the same profession, I wholeheartedly support his nomination. And after a thorough investigation by the Commission, what can I add today? I can share a few small insights. The first is, I can attest to Martin's truly unique intellect and his instincts, which are outmatched only by his humility. Our small lunch group has expanded over the years. It's now quite large, and it includes some of the most accomplished and successful appellate lawyers in all of San Diego. And in our lunch group, 2 rumors about Martin have circulated. One is that he's just smarter than the rest of us. The other is that he has this mysterious ability to write beautiful, concise, persuasive briefs in something like half the time that it would take the rest of us. I've shared those rumors with Martin over the years, and he is the first to deny them, adamantly and genuinely. But I can finally say today that I've won that argument. His nomination confirms that he really is a cut above. My other comments stem from an interview that I conducted on Friday. When Martin asked me to come today and serve as a witness, I decided to take that role very seriously, and I thought I would conduct my own separate interview just to make sure the Commission didn't miss anything. So I asked Martin first what he believed to be his greatest accomplishment in his professional career. And he answered that it was the case that he took to the United States Supreme Court and won. And that story is not just a story of success at the highest level. It is a story about perseverance. Because when Martin petitioned for cert, he believed there was 0 chance of success. Plenty of exceptional lawyers would have recommended against putting in the time and the resources necessary to take the case further. But Martin trusted his instincts, and his perseverance ultimately made a meaningful impact on the law. The second question that I asked Martin was what he perceives as his greatest accomplishment in his personal life. And his answer didn't surprise me at all. He answered that his greatest achievement was getting married and having his children. That is an exceptional example of something I've known about Martin for years, and that is that he cares deeply for those around him. The last question that I asked Martin was what he perceived to be my biggest mistake or my most embarrassing moment in my own professional career. And he just smiled. He said nothing. And that confirms something else that I've known about Martin for years, which is that he has great kindness and compassion. Because though there are many examples he could have chosen from, he chose to say nothing. So, happily, I can attest today that the Commission did not miss a thing, and I ask that Martin Buchanan be confirmed as an Associate Justice of the Court of Appeal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fuller. We appreciate that second interview.
Thank you.
I invite the Honorable Judith McConnell, Administrative Presiding Justice of the Court of Appeal, 4th Appellate District.
Chief Justice Cantil Saccoe, Attorney General Bonta, and Presiding Justice Ramirez. It is a great honor to be here to speak in support of the confirmation of Martin Buchanan to the Court of Appeal, 4th Appellate District, Division 1. I first came to know Martin when he came to work as a chambers attorney for Justice Cynthia Aaron in 2003. She would be here speaking at the podium, but for the fact that she is right now on an airplane flying to Washington, D.C. to visit her son. So I had the great honor of speaking in her place. When he came to the Court of Appeal in 2003, he already had impressive credentials, including serving as editor of the Harvard Law Review, something I really didn't know until I read his PDQ, because he's not in the slightest pretentious. Not that everyone from Harvard is pretentious, but anyway. We've watched his career since he left the court, and he's achieved great success as an appellate attorney in the California Courts of Appeal, the California Supreme Court, the Ninth Circuit, and as you've heard, the United States Supreme Court. It's always been a pleasure to sit on one of his cases, since his writing is exceptional, his presentation at oral argument is to the point, something we always appreciate, and the justices of the 4th District, Division 1, unanimously consider him exceptionally well qualified. It's rare to find a candidate who is so highly regarded as Martin. I've had the honor of chairing the Governor's Judicial Selection Advisory Committee, and we unanimously graded him beyond exceptionally well qualified. There were no negative comments from anyone we contacted, not a single negative comment. He is bright, articulate, a beautiful writer, thoughtful, and of great importance to us, he is collegial. He just radiates good humor. When you get to know him and spend any time with him, you will see that. He's dedicated to community service, as you've heard. He's been active in serving our vulnerable populations through Social Advocates for Youth, providing services for youth and their families. His pro bono work has been extensive, and he has litigated pro bono appeals on behalf of victims of domestic violence and parents whose children were abducted. I wanted to add that in addition to his already listed qualifications, he has a wonderful sense of humor. And by the way, the only negative thing I know about him, since I'm from Nebraska, the beef state, he is a vegetarian, but we'll put up with that. That's okay. That's a small sacrifice. Justice Aaron told me when she interviewed him for the job as her chambers attorney, she was laughing so hard she was crying. I only hope that doesn't happen when all of us are on the bench. I commend him to you and hope you will confirm him unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Administrative Presiding Justice McConnell. I now invite Mr. Adam Hoffman to share the evaluation that was conducted by the State Bar's Commission on Judicial Nominees.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chief Justice, Mr. Attorney General, Mr. Presiding Justice. I am honored to present this report on behalf of the Commission on Judicial Nominees Evaluation, Jenny, to summarize the basis of the Jenny Commission's rating of Martin N. Buchanan for the office of Associate Justice of the Court of Appeal, 4th Appellate District, Division 1. The Jenny Commission conducted its evaluation of Martin N. Buchanan on February 22nd, 2020, finding him to be exceptionally well qualified for service on the 4th Appellate District, Division 1. According to the Jenny Commission rules, the rating reflects the Commission's determination that Martin N. Buchanan possesses qualities and attributes of remarkable or extraordinary superiority that enable him to perform the appellate judicial function with distinction. Mr. Buchanan was born in Lillooet, British Columbia, Canada. After moving to the United States, he attended high school in Portland, Oregon. In 1983, Mr. Buchanan graduated magna cum laude from Brown University with a BA degree in law and society. Thereafter, he attended Harvard Law School, where he served as an editor of the Harvard Law Review and of the Harvard Civil Rights, Civil Liberties Law Review. In 1986, he received his JD degree magna cum laude. After law school, Mr. Buchanan worked for 1 year as a law clerk to then Chief Judge Robert F. Peckham in the United States District Court for the Northern District of California. He next became an employment litigation associate at Farnsworth, Saperstein, and Seligman in Oakland. From 1988 to 1990, Mr. Buchanan handled civil and criminal appeals and political election law matters for the firm then known as Remcho, Johansson, and Purcell. In 1990, he worked as a staff attorney for appellate defenders in San Diego, litigating criminal, juvenile, and dependency appeals and habeas corpus petitions. Mr. Buchanan then worked as a solo practitioner in 1992, handling criminal appeals and habeas corpus petitions. In 2003, he became Justice Cynthia Aaron's senior research attorney at the California Court of Appeal, 4th Appellate District, Division 1. Mr. Buchanan left the Court of Appeal in 2004 to reopen his solo practice, this time focusing on civil appeals. In 2005, he became a partner at Nidri, Fish, and Buchanan, LLP, where he continued to handle civil appeals in state and federal courts. He left the firm in 2010 and has been a sole practitioner since then, litigating civil appeals in state and federal courts. One of the nominee's proudest professional moments came in 2011 before the United States Supreme Court when he successfully represented a family against an auto manufacturer. In Williamson versus Mazda Motor Companies, 2011, 562 U.S. 323, the court found that a federal regulation giving auto manufacturers a choice as to whether to install a lap and shoulder belt in the rear seat of motor vehicles did not preempt the petitioner's state tort lawsuit against Mazda. Mr. Buchanan's accomplishments have won him statewide recognition. In 2012, he was one of 2 attorneys awarded the California Lawyer Attorney of the Year Award for appellate law. In 2017, Mr. Buchanan was named the Consumer Attorney of the Year by the Consumer Attorneys of California, an award given to a single plaintiff's lawyer who achieved a significant result in a case that assisted consumers or changed consumer law for the better in California. Mr. Buchanan is an engaged volunteer in his communities. He is a member of the Hague Convention Attorney Network, the Pro Bono Attorney Network, through which he litigated appeals on behalf of victims of domestic violence and of parents whose children were abducted across international boundaries. In addition, Mr. Buchanan has contributed to amicus briefs by the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers and California Attorneys for Criminal Justice. An appellate specialist since 2006, Mr. Buchanan is a founding and current member of the San Diego Appellate Inn of Court and in the invitation-only American Academy of Appellate Lawyers. Mr. Buchanan has also served as a judge pro tem in San Diego County Superior Court, handling small claims matters. Outside of the law, he was board president for Social Advocates for Youth San Diego, a social services nonprofit organization for children and families. Mr. Buchanan is a highly respected practitioner, praised for his intelligence, clear writing, empathy, and civility. As a senior research attorney for the Court of Appeal, he was intimately involved in appellate review, which will serve him well as an associate justice. The commission therefore finds that Mr. Buchanan possesses qualities and attributes of remarkable or extraordinary superiority that enable him to perform the appellate judicial function with distinction and is exceptionally well qualified for the appellate court. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peckham. I invite Mr. Buchanan to come forward to the podium to present a statement, if you wish, and to answer any questions that the members of the commission may have. Welcome.
Good afternoon. I believe it's afternoon now. Chief Justice Cantil Sakaue, Attorney General Bonta, and Presiding Justice Ramirez. It is the honor of a lifetime to be here as a nominee to the Court of Appeal in San Diego. I am tremendously grateful to Governor Newsom for this nomination and the opportunity to serve the people of this state. This is also a bit of a full circle moment for me because I'm here only blocks away from where I started my career as a lawyer, as a law clerk for the late Chief Judge Robert F. Peckham. I have nothing to add to the written record that is before the commission and the wonderful and humbling comments that have been made by my witnesses and the Jenny Chair this morning. I'm happy to answer any questions the commissioners have.
Thank you, Mr. Buchanan. Any questions?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
honored to be here with you, and thank you for your willingness to serve. I just wanted to comment that I really enjoyed hearing the comments of and statements of your peers, and particularly opposing counsel. I think your peers and opposing counsel, their opinions, I think, are very powerful, very telling, very revealing, and in particular, I think it's undisputed your skills, talents, legal acumen, but all the insights around how you conduct yourself collaboratively, with humility, with humor, with compassion. I think that's super important. Anything we do, it's always with other people, with teammates and colleagues and staff, and so critical. So I wanted to ask you about sort of a relatively unique experience you have coming from private practice directly to the appellate court. What are you looking forward to most in that transition, and what do you think will be your biggest challenge?
I think, I'm looking forward to working collegially with other justices on the Court of Appeal. My practice for most of my career has been as a sole practitioner, so that's going to be an adjustment for me, working in panels of 3, and not getting to decide how the written product comes out all by myself, which I'm normally able to do, although I do have to negotiate with trial attorneys quite a bit about how they want a brief to come out, so there's some similarity there. I'm looking forward to the opportunity to do greater good than I feel I can as an advocate. I feel as a justice, I'll have that opportunity, the opportunity to uphold the rule of law rather than merely being an advocate for one side or another. And I know the people at the Court of Appeal because I worked there, so it already feels like family, and I'm kind of looking forward to going back to that family.
Thank you, Mr. Buchanan.
Thank you. Questions? Justice Ramirez?
A thought and a question, Mr. Buchanan, if you don't mind. I hope this afternoon finds you in good spirits. It should.
I am in good spirits right now.
It's not going to change.
It's not over yet.
The chief is so prescient. You mentioned a moment ago that it was your honor of a lifetime to be here for the reasons you mentioned. It has been a pleasure for me, and I'm sure for the chief and General Bonta, to sit in review of this notebook that we have in our possession. It is just one accolade, one accomplishment after another. They stack up. I wanted to touch on some of those, but I think everyone has touched on them. Everything from your law school experience as editor of the Law Review and editor of the Harvard Civil Rights and Civil Liberties Law Review as well, which I think was mentioned or touched on. Your American Academy of Appellate Lawyers and awards, and then we can go on and on and on. I don't think the chief wants me to go on and on and on, so I will.
I don't mind.
I will cut through that. Soon, I don't have the exact date in front of me, we will have I think the 65th anniversary of a book written in 1958, Anatomy of a Murder. Maybe you saw the movie with Jimmy Stewart.
I have to say, I don't think I've seen that movie.
The book was better. The book was better. And it has to do with, and Lee Remick, and you're too young to know who Lee Remick was, the victim in that case. But I think the protagonist, played by Jimmy Stewart, of the former district attorney who turned defense lawyer. And I love novels and movies about the law, our profession, the people, the lawyers, the judges. And as Paul Beegler, known as Paulie, was reviewing the case with his investigator, the investigator made the comment, as I recall, you know, Paulie, we've got our exhibits, we have our evidence, we've completed the interviews of all of our witnesses, but we know very little of the judge. In fact, I don't think we know anything about this judge. And Paul Beegler, having been the longtime district attorney in this Michigan county, he said to the investigator, you know, judges are like people. basically fall into 4 different categories. There are those judges with neither head nor heart. Hard to imagine. That was his observation. And he said they are to be avoided at all costs. We could probably agree on that. Then there are judges with head but no heart. Almost as bad. You may or may not agree. So then there are judges with heart but no head. A little riskier, but better than the first 2. And then the lawyer said to the investigator, but then there are those rare judges. I'd like to think not. I might disagree with him. Who have both a head and a heart. A head and a heart. All judges, Chief, I believe, aspire to be a judge in that 4th category, a head and a heart. Based on all of the materials that I have in front of me, I would probably travel back in time and say to Robert Travers, pen name, Mr. Travers, meet Martin Buchanan. That's what I would say to him.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. You impress me as someone, based on all of these materials, who's blessed with both a head and a heart. That makes you rare and ideal. Now, the question, that was my foundational.
I'm waiting for the question.
May I, Chief? May I?
Please, Justice Ramirez.
Paul Beegler made the transition, and if you read the book, very difficult transition from the district attorney to a defense lawyer. We can imagine that. So, as a follow-up to the general's question, how will you, as one of the most respected appellate civil litigators who's accomplished so much, how will you make the transition from being that litigator to now a member of the Court of Appeal? And what will your role be? How will you do that?
Well,
you touched on it just a moment ago.
Yeah, I think I have the advantage of having worked at the Court of Appeal before, and so having somewhat played that role in chambers for Justice Aaron. And she is a role model for me in terms of how she conducts herself on the bench and how she interacts with her staff. So it's very helpful to have a role model to begin with. And I also have had other role models. Judge Peckham, as a law clerk for Judge Peckham, for an entire year, I was able to witness how he operated as a judge. And I've done some semi-judicial work as a small claims judge and things like that. So I think it probably isn't as much of a transition as it might be for someone who had done nothing but private practice. And I think, I'm not sure I can answer your question in great detail other than to say it'll be a thing in development. And I have great role models and great colleagues on the Court of Appeal to help me with that transition.
And I think Robert Travers would be honored to meet you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Justice Ramirez. You know those times, Mr. Buchanan, in oral argument when there's not really a question to be had, but more of an observation that floats out in the air? That's what this is.
Okay.
And that is the sense that I have truly appreciated the remarks of Ms. Romero, Ms. Fuller, and Administrative Presiding Justice McConnell, because they tell me that to hear that you have been opposition to Ms. Romero, but you were a pleasure, and to hear from Ms. Fuller that you are a joy, and to hear from Justice McConnell about your work at Harvard and your accomplishments at Harvard, you join, if you don't already know this, a group of truly brilliant and respected collegial jurists at the Supreme Court who came from Harvard and Yale. And not that I'm pointing at Attorney General Bonta from Yale, but I will point out that I have found my colleagues, and expect that you will be too, just one of the most interesting collegial interchange of academic and real life that we can have and need as a court going forward. I only want to make one observation, and that is how pleased I am to see your family and friends here. How pleased I am to see young men with families and parents, and to see cousins and brothers and sisters and children and wives. It's just, you're very accomplished, but it seems to me that your accomplishment is shared and supported by the people who you love and love you to make that possible. Much like the Court of Appeal, much like our decisions, whether it's 3 jurists or 7, we all have to support each other to get to the right place. And so I think that it will be exciting. I'm happy for the 4th about what's happening with your confirmation hearing today.
Thank you so much, Chief, and I am so fortunate to have all these people behind me who have traveled from Massachusetts, New York, Georgia, Texas, Oregon, and Southern California, various parts of Southern California, all to come here for this today, and I appreciate them so much, and I agree with your comments on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I hope you'll have an opportunity later to address
Yes.
fully. But at this point, let me say to our commission that this completes the list of witnesses who have been here to testify and the correspondence received. Are we ready to vote?
We are.
Okay, having considered the correspondence and the testimony, all in favor of finding Mr. Martin Buchanan qualified to be confirmed for this position, please say aye.
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 Thank you.
You
Congratulations.
delayed.
I didn't. I know my role.
Well,
Sorry for the interruption.
nope. Justice Buchanan, feel free otherwise. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Justice Buchanan, at this time, with your friends and family, as you wish, CHP will escort you up behind the bench to administer the oath of office.
Thank you.
Yeah, we should be. It was a foregone conclusion.
More of that in this room.
We'll move these out of the way and get them in between. Sure, I'll follow you. There's more room. Just that. I'll sign, ready to sign. Welcome.
Thank
Please
you.
come in and have
Okay.
your family for all the, if you feel free to take pictures or pull out your phone. Don't think that you can't. Don't think that you should just because I said so. But if you feel moved, feel free to stand up and take a picture. Congratulations. Thank you for being here. I'm honored to meet you. Honored to meet you here. Thank you. I'm going to take a picture for your best photo op and move this
Okay.
way. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Please raise your right hand to be sworn. Repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Martin Nebrita Buchanan,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Chief. Appreciate it. It's such an honor. I want to begin by thanking the governor and his staff, Judicial Appointments Secretary Luis Cespedes, and his predecessor, Justice Martin Jenkins, who I also interviewed with, and their Deputy Gonzalo Martinez, who is here today. I am particularly grateful that the governor and his team so highly value diversity on the bench in all its forms, including diversity of work experience. I want to thank the Commission on Judicial Appointments and the members for confirming me today, and also the staff for setting up this hearing and answering all my stupid questions. So thank you for that. Appreciate it. I can't help but view this hearing through the eyes of my two nephews who are here today sitting in the front row, 15-year-old Noah and 11-year-old Cade. Both sets of grandparents on both sides are first-generation immigrants from the Philippines. And here they are sitting in the California Supreme Court watching their Uncle Martin get confirmed as a judge by a panel that includes a Filipina Chief Justice and a Filipino Attorney General. And I know how meaningful that is to my wife and her family, and to me as well. I want to thank my speakers today for all of their kind words and for taking the time out of their busy lives to come and say words on my behalf. Linda Romero, Victoria Fuller, Justice McConnell, thank you very much. I want to thank the State Bar Jenny Committee for all of its work investigating me, and particularly the chair here, for Adam Hoffman, for giving his presentation, and also the commissioners who interviewed me, Justice Gary Hastings, Daniel Alexander, and S.J. Kalian. I'd also like to thank everybody who helped out along the way, whether you wrote a letter or filled out a Jenny form or made a phone call, and that includes all my friends and future colleagues at the Court of Appeal who supported me, and especially Justice McConnell, whose support has meant so much to me. Speaking of future colleagues, I understand that I will be occupying the chambers where I once served happily as a research attorney for Justice Cynthia Aaron, who unfortunately, as Justice McConnell said, could not be here today. Justice Aaron and I have remained good friends, and I'm just so thrilled to be returning to her old chambers, but as a colleague this time. And they tell me I'm actually going to have an equal vote, so that's amazing. I'd like to acknowledge also Justice Howard Weiner. Justice Weiner was one of the first, probably the first person I met in the San Diego legal community when I moved to San Diego in 1989. I met Justice Weiner with his then research attorney, Bill Dado, now Justice Bill Dado, who will also be one of my future colleagues now. Another full circle moment, I suppose. I'm getting a little dizzy with these full circle moments. And Justice Howard took me under his wing when he left the bench. He opened many doors for me, including making many of the introductions that made it possible for me to develop my own civil appellate career. And most importantly, he married me and my wife 30 years ago this September. I want to talk about my family. My mom and dad, first of all, it's hard to believe my dad died nearly 40 years ago. And I look around and it's hard for me to even imagine what he would have thought of all of this. But my mom is here, and I have so much to be grateful for to my mom and dad. Too much to really mention here, but there are two things that I think stand out for the purpose of this hearing. One is the values that Linda mentioned that my parents instilled in me that caused me to become a lawyer. So thank you for that. And the second is for fostering a love of reading and writing from a very young age. Mom, you probably thought you were just reading me bedtime stories. But I can actually draw a line straight from that to my career as an appellate lawyer and now an appellate judge. So thank you for that and for so much more. My brothers, Paul and Phil, I think losing our dad at such a young age cemented the brotherly love that we already had into an unbreakable bond. And you guys have always been there for me, as you are here today. and I hope you feel the same about me. To my kids, Kamala and Jonah, you can't even imagine how proud I am of the people you have become and the lives you've created for yourselves as adults. And no matter what I may do as a judge, nothing will ever compare to the joy of being your dad. To the unsung hero of all of this, my wife of 30 years, Merm, you know I wouldn't be here without your support and the sacrifices you've made for me and the kids. When you gave up your career to become a full-time mom, you put aside your own personal ambitions and allowed us to fulfill ours. And I can't ever thank you enough or repay you for those decades of selflessness. And a lot of the words that I've heard to describe myself today, I associate more with you than with me. And I want to say thank you for inspiring me to be a better person with your kindness, your compassion for others, your humor, and of course, your ability to connect instantly with anyone you meet from any background or walk of life. She said it's true. You know, nearly 75 years ago, the California courts were the first in the nation to strike down laws banning interracial marriage. It's inconceivable for me to imagine that the law would prohibit me from marrying the woman I love. But we have to bear in mind that the rights we have as citizens aren't things that we can just take for granted. They're things that require hard work and constant vigilance, and most of all, a judicial system that is committed to upholding and preserving the rule of law. I pledge that as a judge, I will do my part to uphold the rule of law in every case that comes before me to the best of my ability. I want to thank you all for being here present today, especially those of you who came from great distances. I want to thank everybody, all my friends and future colleagues who are watching online, and to those of you who are watching at the Court of Appeal in San Diego, I look forward to joining you soon. Thanks so much. Oh, wow, okay.
Wonderful hearing about you. Wonderful.
I should know the date. I think it's the 17th.
Yes. This is a remembrance.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure, and the commission has paperwork to sign. I'll
Okay.
correct them. This we will get to the Secretary of State for you. We will take care of all the paperwork
Okay.
on this end.
Great.
And please, I'll give you this. Thank you. I'll ask the Justice Ramirez, I'll ask you to sign some paperwork to the Secretary of State, and we'll head in that direction.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.